Panzer Dragoon is mechanically a simple game. You can shoot, and by holding the shoot button, you can charge a homing laser that can target various enemies or target a single big enemy multiple times. Unlike other on-rail shooters, there aren't defensive options aside from just moving your dragon. There aren't any power-ups or healing items, so the game could be pretty unforgiving, but while I think the game is tough, it's actually balanced fairly well. The game allowed you to turn your view to the sides and to your back, so you had a way of shooting at any angle, which the game makes ample use of. This is the core of Panzer Dragoon, the original game for the Sega Saturn. 2.5 decades later, it was remade for all modern platforms, but not in its full glory. The game, as far as I'm aware, is identical to the Sega Saturn original. No new mechanics to spice up the gameplay, it's mostly about the visuals that get the makeover, and they are a bit underwhelming. The art style itself I dig. I think it looks cool, but the graphics themselves look kinda funky. They look like a subpar SVTXT game, and even if they can look good sometimes, it always excuses sort of cheap quality. The cutscenes also suffer this problem, the opening being a clear example. It looked like they took the original Saturn cutscenes and remade them shot for shot with the same animations. It all looks janky. Prototype model looks kinda iffy and the dragon looks alright, and to be honest, since it's an on-rail shooter, you don't always see the rough edges, but they are there, and sometimes shoved in your face. The stages are a fun romp, and I found it fun even though I was essentially playing a game from '95, so that's a testament on how the game design holds up. But I also thought it was a very simple game, with not many reasons to go back. It starts on a visually pleasing water-soaked ruin, with a boss that you can only fire at certain times for some arbitrary reason. The succeeding stages then take you through 2 deserts, an ancient passage filled with old machines from bygone age, a lush jungle that's a huge glow up from the original, and a ruined city until finally arriving at the mysterious tower. All of them, aside from the 7th stage, which is only the final boss fight, have the standard shooting gameplay, and you get rated at the end of each one depending on how many enemies you shoot. And you get a rank at the end of the game, but with a homing shot it isn't too hard to get a good rank. And there aren't any alternate paths or extra events. Damn, isn't that a little too much space? The bosses range from kinda boring to alright in my opinion. A couple of them that are just ships, like the first one that gets demoted to a stage enemy, the one in the 5th stage which isn't very interesting, and there's this huge beast that kinda sucks. But both encounters with the prototype dragon are the best fights, even if the first something that just flies around doing nothing. Now the last aspect of the game that I haven't talked about is the story, which I think is interesting enough to make you think a little, but it's also a little too vague. The game starts with the protagonist, unnamed in North America but in other regions was named Keel, riding with his merry band and seeing an Imperial ship, and then wandering into a cave to encounter an ancient machine, getting saved in the nick of time by a blue dragon fighting a black dragon. The black dragon shoots down the blue dragon's rider, and with his last breath instructs his poor schmuck to stop the prototype dragon from reaching a tower in the middle of the sea. The story doesn't develop much after that, cutscenes show danger approaching, but like I said, it's pretty vague. Once you reach the tower, the prototype dragon does something with the tower, which is now revealed to be some sort of weird structure. While the prototype dragon approaches it, sticks some magic crystal up his ass, I don't know, and gets jacked up. The final boss stage is an endless sea pouring with rain, which I think is a great setting for the finale. Once you beat it, it just sort of skedaddles out of the game, unless you're in hard mode, in which you fight it similar to his first encounter, and he does have a stroke apparently. Killing the dragon then going to a tower, with the dragon teleporting the rider outside while it seemingly sacrifices itself to destroy the tower, and the rider washing off on a beach finding some footprints on the sand. I guess the vagueness of the story was to keep it simple, since the world was fleshed out in the other Saturn games, Spy and Saga, but for this game, as a standalone, it's kinda eh. The remake added a few improvements, obviously the frame rate is improved, and you can now play with a classic scheme where you control both the dragon and the rifle with the left stick, or you can use a dual stick method, where you fire with both triggers. It may be easier to dodge, but I think shooting normal shots with the triggers is pretty weird, and it doesn't have an auto fire option. The remake also has the same soundtrack with the option for a rearranged one. I think both are good, but I prefer the Saturn most. I'll link a video with a 1-to-1 comparison, but here's the first level for example. I don't know about you, but the new version feels a bit more soothing. Still, the original stuff's pretty hard, not gonna lie. There's also Pandora's bugs that you can access with a cheat code. It includes stuff like God mode, but I don't care enough to record it. I think the remake isn't too bad. I mean, it's Panzer Dragoon with a new-ish coat of paint. The paint looks like it's been stuck in a human warehouse for 12 years, but it's still a new coat of paint. There was a lot of disappointment online about it, and yeah, looking at the trailers, it looked a lot better, and considering that you can beat the game in 1 to 2 hours, yeah, I'd be a bit disappointed if I paid $25 for this. It's a game with a lot of rough edges, with levels that aren't as dynamic as other Unreal shooters, like Star Fox or Sin and Punishment. It's older than those, minus the original Star Fox, so the comparison wouldn't be fair, but still, looking at it through a modern lens with the new graphics, it makes it a lot more apparent. It's still a pretty fun game, and I'm not complaining that it's short just because I like my games to be 100 hours of grinding. Well, aside from 1 or 2 times, I honestly prefer shorter games, but I also like them to be replayable. That makes me want to come back. That's why I love games like Metroid Dread, Ikaruga, or Star Successor. These are some of my favorite games of all time, and Sin and Punishment is also pretty short, but the dynamic shooting, the adrenaline pumping set pieces, and the drive to get better at the game make it so I replay it a bunch of times. And this one doesn't hit the nail on the head quite that way. Only for achievements, I guess, but if I were on Switch, well, I doubt I would give it a second rodeo. I played in both normal and hard mode, and I must reiterate, it was quite a fun time. And nowadays, when we're a bit dry on on-rail shooters, and since this game frequently goes on sale at a steep 90% discount, I say give it a try. Apparently they were also going to remake Spy and maybe Saga, but at the moment, those plans seem to be halted, and possibly cancelled. Sega doesn't seem eager to bring back Panzer Dragoon, since they outsource not only the developer, but also the publisher. So I doubt we'll be hearing about it anytime soon. I think it would have sweetened the deal if they remade both Saturn shooters in one package, like the Advance Wars remakes, or at least include the original, or even if this was higher quality, because if the new Metroid Prime remaster shows something, and that people will buy an older game if it has a new coat of paint. If that coat of paint is really good, and this isn't, unfortunately. At the very least, I am intrigued to play Spy, Saga, and Orda, but for the moment, this game was a fun romp, and if you're interested in the story of the series, I highly recommend the Panzer Dragoon Retrospective by I Finished the Video Game. It's longer than my tax bill, but it's a really good video going through all the games. And the 100-hour achievement is a load of BS. By the time this goes up, I'm either leaving the game running at 500 times speed with cheat engine, or I already have it. To whoever came up with this idea, you can kiss my ass. Also, thanks for
200
subscribers. And until the Pirate Wars video is complete, may we meet again another time and place.